It's funny because you can find some videos of. There's a great video of a guy on a scooter, and the camera zoomed in on the scooter, and he's kind of scooting up to the launch pad, and it zooms out, and it zooms out, and it zooms out, and it zooms out until Starship is in focus. And by the time Starship is in focus, he's just a little teeny tiny speck down there at the bottom of the launch pad. Really, it's a great video if you can find it on Twitter. So this morning, before we gathered together to do the show, the launch happened. I don't know if it went perfect, but they're going to learn a lot. And this is a clip from The Guardian that kind of walks us through the critical moments of the launch this morning.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
I love hearing the crowd. What an accomplishment for them.
Mr. Chambers, pressure nominal.
We are T plus 40 seconds into the flight of Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the first stage.
Power and telemetry nominal.
So for the first 50 seconds or so, or 40 seconds, looking really good. The two-stage rocket ship reached space, and it does a separation.
Stage separation.
Boost bank startup.
That's a big deal right there. So the booster flies off. You can really hear the SpaceX crowd go nuts. Elon, though, he looks a little distracted.
Incredible views of our Super Heavy booster. And as you can see, the Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. However,
3 minutes in. Do you hear what they call it, though, Brent? Did you hear what they called the explosion?
Rapid, unscheduled...
Disassembly.
Booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
And so we're actually
like
going
an explosion.
in
I think that's what you mean.
suborbital trajectory today.
Well, what else? Oh, thank you, sir. Wes is in the house. He brings the goods. That means it's showtime. Hello, commercial streams. Welcome in. Please head on over to our chat room. We got a limited crew today because we're doing a Saturday show. So we'd love to have you get in there and help title this thing. Chat with us. Mumble Room's also open. If you'd like to get in and get the low latency Opus stream, we're happy to have you in there. I'm a dude. Boo-doo-doo. How was the drive up? Was it all right?
More traffic than a Sunday.
Oh, yeah?
Right?
I was wondering.
So.
Yeah.
Could just be today, too. Kind of weird, splotchy traffic. It wasn't like it was all bad, but...
Splotchy traffic.
I blame the Tulip Festival. Really.
Yeah. It's the Tulip Festival.
He's on to us. Why, there never even was a Tulip Road in Skagit County.
Oh, I see.
I was there the last time during the fest, and then we never went to see it. And then the next time, they're like, oh, yeah, that's where it happens. I'm like, guys.
The mountains were nice this morning.
Oh, man, they sure were on my way in. They sure were.
Kind of misty. It's like just cold enough to feel like a season, but like not uncomfortable. It's still pleasant outside.
Yeah. Yeah, today is much nicer than it was the last few days. We got a new roof on Jupes, and it's a little more comfortable, Plus we really have our heat game dialed in now, but I have data. And the data shows that the heaters are running less. Just a little bit less in the evening, but that's nice, especially considering it's been cold.
It has been cold.
Now, there's been some camera shenanigans with you, Wes Payne, so we're going to have to take a look.
I have a Jupes question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, off limits.
Have you been on the roof to check it out?
No.
I hate going on the
roof.
Can you believe that?
No, I'm going. I meant to charge the drone before I left today, too, so I could get some pictures for you guys, because I think you're going to really like it. But that's how busy I've been. I have not had a chance to look at the product that I've bought yet.
Didn't we charge the drone when I was there?
Oh, yeah. Although those batteries, they self-discharge,
Okay. Yeah, I'd hope so.
Yeah. You go in there, down there a little warm. You're like, oh, you little shit. What are you doing? Hey, big news, guys. Big news. Very excited to announce that the Linux Foundation has announced another foundation.
Oh, no.
They're creating the High Performance Software Foundation. Are you...
What does that mean?
Can we get a map of the foundations now?
Oh, it's going to be as bad as the cloud native map.
The initial members joining are Amazon Web Services, CIQ,
Our friends.
HP Enterprise, Intel, Livermore National Laboratory, Los Alamos National Laboratory, NVIDIA,
Okay, so some of these make sense.
University of Oregon. Although Michael points out that notably absent from the list includes Intel and NVIDIA. Oh, absent from the list is AMD. Not involved in that. Yeah, that's true, especially considering how much upstream drivers they've been doing.
My cousin works at Lawrence Livermore.
Cool.
Should ask
That's
him.
neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Am I happy with your...
Probably not, no.
I wonder why. It doesn't seem that tight, though. It's a little better.
I always try to position myself, too. The delicate art of podcastery.
What we really need is like an arm for this keyboard. This keyboard takes up an inordinate amount of space.
I was going to say like a guy that comes in while we sit here and fixes it all, but yours is more practical.
Maybe if we worked in El Salvador, dude.
I thought that was your job, Wes.
Yeah, but I'm
You just
set
need a
down.
Meeseeks box.
If
I
we
think.
moved production to El Salvador, I would hire Renee, the guy that ran our room.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
I'd have him be our studio guy. I've been thinking about if I should hire him to do some work or something because he's such a good worker. All right, so we have a lot to do today. I wonder if there's a little bit of homework we should do, like
Yeah, probably.
update the package list or something. We also have some news. Linux 6.6 has officially been announced, the LTS. It'll be supported until December 2026. It's pretty great. It's nice to see. I suppose. But yeah,
it's a good new recent kernel. It'll be a good
Yeah.
LTS, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just thinking, I wonder if there's any like pre-work we could do to make the update process go smooth, but not like cheat the actual process.
Just doing like the downloads or something.
Get your keyring stuff going.
Is there a way to download the packages and not install them yet? I don't know. That's because, yeah, there's going to be so many packages we're just waiting to download, and it's going to also mess up our bandwidth while we're streaming. So there's that element.
I mean, there must be, right? Someone.
We're
not the first ones to want this.
I know you can install it from a package you download. There probably is a method to just...
You were up early watching the SpaceX stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Or up late, whichever.
I missed it live even though I was up. I felt silly about that.
Well, we might need to update our mirrors to start with.
Oh, gosh.
And the keyring stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're probably going to have to Pacman S the Arch Linux keyring.
Yeah, keyring for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So, interesting little bit of, I don't know, back and forth. We mentioned just briefly that Michael Erbel had done some benchmarks on Bcachefs and had run into some problems. Well, Kent Overstreet, the core developer of Bcachefs on his Patreon, on November 4th, posted a follow-up. And he says that he thought the results looked a bit off. So he did a similar test, and he got a lot better throughput than what Laravel saw. Now, he does say there's some higher CPU usage when you're using copy on write, because Bcachefs is doing 4K random writes, so it takes a little bit more overhead. But he suspects that maybe Michael ran it with config bcache debug transactions on by default, which would add a lot more overhead.
Yeah, and I think it did then, sort of prod some work to Kent looking into if you can reduce the overhead for having that on too.
Good. Yeah, I always kind of hate it because what happens here is, like, the third comment is, it's not like Pharonics are known for their skillful use or interpretation of benchmark data, so this isn't terribly surprising. Well, then you do a better job, Scott. Like, Michael is out there 7 days a week for over a decade, like more than a decade, maybe double that, grinding it, and there's nobody else in the space doing what he does. Digging the way he digs, sorting through all the kernel stuff that he sorts through, and the driver developments, and then getting the hardware together to actually test the end result of those developments.
It's impressive.
Nobody's doing that. And nobody's doing that complete package. And then on top of that, he maintains the Pharonics Benchmark Suite, which is a suite of tools that does this work. And then he stores the data on Open Benchmark, where everybody can compare all this different data with each other. And I just feel like that is such a lazy hot take. Like, maybe sometimes he runs a benchmark with debug transactions turned on. Dude does 300 benchmarks a year, and every couple of years somebody has an issue with one of the benchmarks. But like, come on.
I also think it means like, you got to put into context the stuff. Like, it's not like Laravel's coming out and saying like these are the definitive benchmarks. It's like,
right.
I have a suite of benchmarks. I threw those stuff at it.
Literally the way it's supposed to work is somebody else is also supposed to be running their benchmarks and doing a comparison and contrasting and seeing, well, why did I get this and you got this? And then like the market sorts it out. But we don't have that in Linux. We don't have a market in Linux. We've got psychopaths and autists that just will stick with it and grind it out for 20 years and barely survive because they love it. That's what we've got. And then we go and shit on them. Old Scott over here. Phoronix is known for their skillful use or interpretation of benchmark data. I bet Michael Larble knows a little bit more about interpreting benchmark data than Scott does here on Patreon. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. It's just, yeah, he does. Is he get A+ work every single time? Probably not. But when you're swinging as often as Larble is, the hit rate's fucking impressive. And like, it just is so diminutive of so much work there. And I just see it all the time. Literally anytime Phoronix comes up. I think Phoronix is like banned on our Linux for reasons of similar nature.
Oh, Reddit.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Doesn't get a fair shake, I don't think.
538. It's already asking me to replace some stuff. So,
All right. Let me write that down. So, yeah.
Here, I'll paste it in the doc.
Okay. All right.
538 doesn't seem so bad.
Do you see the commands? Looks like you can download all the things before updating with W. So like SYW or SYUW.
I see. Put it there in the chat.
Great.
Look at that. Jeff in the chat and the mumble. Jeff,
It's super Jeff.
the power listener this week on an off day.
I got lucky. I took my car to my mechanic this morning and we found out what was wrong pretty quick. So we didn't fix it today, but we'll fix it tomorrow.
So what is wrong?
Motor mounts or trans mounts. Something mounts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
fucking
not
loose.
That's not the end of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Too many
I thought it was a
snaps in your
trans
mount.
for
Isn't it
sure.
funny, dude, how modern car mounts just wear out? Like, I don't remember that being like a really common thing, but it's the same thing on the Volkswagens. Like the car mounts just kind of wear out after a while. Or the engine mounts.
Big soft rubber, but I think this one in particular, they just forgot to put it on or tighten it.
Oh, man.
You sure you're not driving an RV, dude? That sounds like an RV.
Because
This sounds like my car.
You have to take off the whole front end to get the transmission out. So
Of course.
Yeah, well, why build in a way where you could ever work on it, dude? You're never going to have to do that.
It's not even that bad. It's just like
How many miles?
Yeah, the whole 125,000.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
but
so
like
your
the whole
cat's
front
going to be
end-
going out soon, too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. Like, I so desperately want to just have an electric vehicle, so I don't have all these stupid fucking problems. But at the same time, all the problems I've had are nothing to do with the internal combustion engine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
The build quality of... Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure have
Like,
come
the
an
engine's
amazing way
great.
with those engines.
It's
just
it is really impressive what we get out of those little explosion machines.
that it works at all.
They
And
are
then-
complex.
Yeah.
and just how much we've tuned and find the
Well,
level we can.
I feel like the more I learn about cars, it feels like everything's a compensator for the fact that this causes this and this overheats like this and this needs that. So it's like it starts with an idea and then they just had to keep compensating for the problems it causes. So then like when things fail, like you have a cascade of issues because the compensator for this thing fails. So now this thing dies, which causes this other thing to die. And it's like, God damn, it's complicated now. In a weird way, electric cars will be simpler. They are simpler. And yet they feel more complicated because the bits we have to interact with are more complicated.
Yeah, and I just don't want anything new, man. Like 2025 or 2030, I forget. I think it's 2025. Every fucking car is gonna have remote shut off, and I just don't fucking want it. I don't want that.
Yeah. My neighbor gal, she's got her Ford Focus. She wants it to be her last car, so that's why she got the head gasket fixed. But over the summer, she developed a leak in her sunroof, and so now, to help dry her car out, quote unquote, she leaves it with the window cracked every night.
Oh,
That
she's
might
still
work
doing
in the
this?
summer, I guess.
Yeah, and boy, let me tell you. So she gave me a ride.
those
down,
rats.
She gave me a ride down to the airport, and we're sitting in the back seat, and Dylan's like, "Dad, it smells like oats." I'm like, that's mold, Dylan. He's like, how do you know? Because my ass is wet. Because I'm sitting in the seat next to the window that gets left open, and so now my ass is completely wet. So my ass got soaked on the way down to the airport for an all-day plane ride. It's like it's the wildest concept to leave the window open to dry the car out. Like I could see maybe one night in the summer.
Yeah.
But
that is
in the fall in the Pacific
idea.
Northwest, it's crazy to me. I don't know. Oh, it's hard to look
if
at
anything,
that.
you're like, oh, I left my window open. I better run the heater for a bit.
And she's not
out.
hearing it. She's not hearing it, because it's like, we let her know one night. She's like, she came out. She's like, yeah, I know. I do it on purpose. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. As long as you know.
Yeah. I guess that's going to your plan. I am doing the download, by the way. Thank you, Jeff. That seems to be working.
All right, good. How big is that download?
Let's see. It
tells me you're about a gig.
It's about a gig
That's
to download.
it?
Yeah,
4,000.
Oh my God. I love this. So it's a gig to download, right? It's going to be 4 gigs to install when everything's expanded. And the net upgrade size, can you guess? Survey says negative 4 megabytes.
Yeah.
Negative 4.5 megabytes.
We got to do this update just to get rid of the bloat on this
I
thing.
love that so much. That is a classic Arch thing.
I am
right there.
super surprised. And I should probably keep this.
We're
I'm gonna
gaining
keep this
space.
for the show,
Yeah,
but
you're right. Whoa.
Yes. I have many opinions.
So great.
That's impressive.
Fucking Arch, dude. Well, we'll see. We'll see how far we get, I suppose. We may not get that far. It may break on us radically.
I'm going to say I don't think it will.
All right. I like that.
That's
better.
my stance.
I like that.
We got to have one hopeful crew member.
So Mumble Room is Jeff right now. So Jeff,
Jumble Room.
Hello.
the Jeffel Room.
I can't bring anybody in. I know Dragon wants to join. I'm not sure about Tiny.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I
can't
checked
either.
Dragon.
I just tried to, and I can't either. Okay, Jeff, you got to be honest with us now. What is an outdated, quote unquote, considered outdated Linux habit that you still have despite knowing things have changed? This is a thread on our Linux.
All of them?
Oh, I brought one up last night. Yeah. I tried to do something on Nix that was just like, oh, this would be a quick one-liner in the cron tab. Well, nope. Nix don't have no goddamn cron tab by default.
All right.
I think you mean your dot timer.
Yeah. So I had to learn that, which is fine. Like, it's like, okay, cool. I want to learn this anyways. This is a feature. But of course, I'm learning it the fucking Nix way, and I'm not learning it like the every other system way.
True.
So I have no idea how to fix
Thankfully,
this
it's the
problem on
best
my
way.
Arch box.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
once
sure,
you find
okay.
Nix, you don't need anything else, right?
Okay, yeah.
You should be able to at least like systemd or systemctl cat or whatever and look at
What
all
it's
the
producing.
files that,
Yeah.
the Nix spits out.
Yeah. So you can see the output.
I will say, Jeff, like, good on you for trying something that you're not wholly convinced of yet, and to
It's driving
keep
me.
going at it.
Dude, it's driving me fucking nuts. It really is. I think I haven't crashed since last night. The system, I've been refreshing the hell out of it, and I've been poking even during this right now. I've been fucking with that Nextcloud instance, and it has not crashed on me yet. So I think it was the DAV stuff that I fixed in particular, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. I fixed a lot of shit last night.
Oh, nice. I know I have plenty myself. But the one that I feel like I want to put on all of the people that are making the self-hosted platform one-click install app stores to get, your various self-hosted apps and all this, they all need to embrace the systemd lifestyle. The vast, vast majority of them are doing like some sort of manual startup where they're starting their own containers and their own processes.
Like with a script or something?
Yeah. It's still the way the majority of them do it. I assume, I don't know, maybe even Home Assistant does this still. And the problem with that is systemd knows the state of the network connections. It knows the state of the mounted drives. It knows the state of everything. And so it just is better at the dependency resolution and bringing these services up. And so I often will have, like in the case of Umbrel, maybe something starts before Tailscale and something starts after Tailscale. So something is on the tailnet, but another container isn't on the tailnet. And it's just like, okay, so I got to wait for everything to restart Tailscale. And it's just silly little rickety stuff like that.
So the Golden Dragon has a bold claim here.
What's that?
Claiming I'm actually not even Linux aged enough to know those old entries in the Reddit
That's
thread that
fun.
you sent.
Right?
Where I feel the opposite. I feel like when I was browsing through people answering that question that you asked of like, what are your old habits that, you know, are long expired? Man, I feel like so much of what I learned in Linux was from reading, you know, articles and stuff online, and they're just necessarily outdated. And so I feel like everything I learned was outdated at the point I learned it.
And the older ones, right? They're like linked more. They've been clicked so many times, so they still
Yep.
show
Yeah.
up right at the
so
top.
they come up exactly right.
Well,
and so there's
And Ubuntu and Fedora to a degree and Debian, and you can see it in this thread, they kind of nursemaid people through this. They alias this stuff and they kind of paper over the changes, and then people don't have to learn the new syntax, and then they switch to a distro that doesn't paper over the changes, and that people don't know the new syntax anymore. I'm not sure if it's a good thing.
I
I
think it
don't
was.
like those aliases either.
I remember back in the day before systemd really like made it to the big distros, and you know, like I wasn't deploying Arch at work or anything, but having Arch on a home system I was playing with was kind of nice because, you know, I was, you know, systemd was early. They had like initial support in the InterMFS for a while. And they're like, oh yeah, we're trying to make everything systemd. So by the time it was actually, you know, forced on you in the Ubuntu, forced on you in the Ubuntu system, it's like, oh yeah, this is old hat. I'm used to it.
Well, there's still another one too. Like whenever I need to start a process at the start, my first inclination is finding the rc.conf. Like I did the systemd update from rc.config.
You could just run BSD and be right back.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, I'll get right on that.
ooh.
Symlink rc.conf to your NixOS config.
Oh shit, yeah, there you go.
Brunley, what were you going to say?
Well, I have kind of gotten the sense in the last couple of years that just Ubuntu feels outdated compared to a bunch of the new technologies that are coming out. Like I feel like they're falling behind in a bunch of ways. And I don't know if I could be more specific than that, but it's just kind of a sense that I've gotten that, I don't know, the way things are implemented feel uncurrent. And that's partly the point. But also, you know, they don't want to lag behind too far because then it's a massive gap to try to get caught up.
I think it's like a tightrope too, because, you know, some of the stuff that maybe feels old, like the D package and apt underpinnings. I mean, they're doing a lot of new stuff in the Snap world. We see more and more of that. But I think at the same time, a big selling point for folks who maybe aren't ready for those other things is like, oh, well, I know Ubuntu still has that property that, like, for the most part, I can go on the website and download the deb file and install it, and then, like, it just works because it hasn't changed.
That's true. Yeah, stability. It's that whole balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I go for my bad Linux habit now?
Please do.
Yeah.
I still run an overwhelming majority of my containers as root for no reason.
Yep.
Like,
sure
I'll be
many of us
using
are.
Podman, use Podman Compose, pretty much everything's running as root.
It can be easier sometimes, you know? Sometimes stuff supports it better. There's a lot of stuff that just never updated.
I found in my
that
testing
and-
it's opposite, but I don't use containers like most people. I'm a lame brain.
The other one is sometimes I'll bust out the forbidden chmod in anger and just chmod 777 to deal with permissions.
Yeah.
Happening.
Yeah.
For sure.
I did that last night.
I do allow myself to do that on my media files. Like if every, like, you know, and I just did it forever ago, so it just was a decision I made a long time ago, but it's like, screw it. I want to be able to log in as like a guest over Samba. I want every process to be able to read these files, even regardless of what container it's running in. So it's like, screw it. It's just my media files.
Fine. The database can have the MKVs.
See, media files is one thing, but SSL certificates is another.
Yeah, that's fair.
No.
YOLO!
In a public repo, so thankfully somebody politely pointed that out to
I
me.
like how this guy rolls.
Yeah.
Tiny. I like how you roll.
Danger zone.
Yeah, man. For sure. That's the good stuff right there. All right, boys. I feel like we're getting close to the go position. How are you feeling over there, Wes?
I might need another break. I had a lot of tea.
Yeah, okay.
So,
All right.
If we can afford me that.
Yeah, no, you go
Y'all refill my water.
Go break yourself, boys. Go break yourself. It's fine. I'll take a minute to remind the chat room to get over there.
break everything.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't care. Fuck, shit. You know what? It's fine. All right, let's get that chat room packed up because we need titles. It's a Saturday show, so nobody's going to be here. There ain't nobody here. It's a Saturday show. We need you in the chat room. The bang suggest. Thank you for coming to my bar performance. That concludes the bar performance. So as expected, the KDE Plasma developers have seen a spike in bug reports since the Plasma 6 alpha went out. Michael Arble writes, following last week's KDE Plasma 6.0 alpha release, with more enthusiasts beginning to test out the next generation KDE desktop stack, there's been a spike in bug reports. KDE developers are on it, working to address these bugs out of the 6.0 stable release in February. So Nate Graham did a little rundown, and which we got to recap here. Here are some of the bug fixes. Plasma panels now have a dodge Windows visibility mode that is in fact an intelligent auto hide if the panel is being touched by a window. KWin adds support for the Wayland presentation time protocol. This helps ensure smooth video playback while maintaining audio and video synchronization. I would be curious to know if that extends to Bluetooth. So if you're listening or to a movie with Bluetooth headphones, if that Wayland presentation time protocol helps with that. There's also a range of other improvements, including even one for those FreeBSD users out there. The KDE brightness controls now work on FreeBSD systems.
My God.
FreeBSD challenge coming soon.
No, I don't think so, man. Wow, I don't mean to laugh at FreeBSD, but I can't believe they just got brightness control. That really shows you, huh? It really does show you.
I wonder how Alan. I know he uses Windows a lot, but I wonder how he does it because
I
last
think
time
he's
we
on a
physically
Mac
saw
now.
him.
I think he's on the Mac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I watched the ZFS leadership, meetings, and it's an iSight style camera, and it's got the Apple style bokeh blur. There's if you attend enough meetings, each presentation software has its own blur effect, and you can distinguish the Zoom blur and the Google blur and the Apple blur.
The Gaussian blur?
Yeah. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it would be fascinating though to spin up a FreeBSD with KDE on it and just do the side by side. What is it like? Is it?
Oh God! See, this is
like being in 2010.
This is how it starts, dude. This is how it starts.
Oh, sorry.
The next thing you know, we're running FreeBSD.
Well, what's their?
OpenBSD or whatever you want.
Yeah, what's their own little DE they had too, like the Triton or I forget.
Yeah, where did
what it
that
was,
go?
but-
Does somebody in the chat room remind us? Because it took a couple of turns, right? But I think it still persists. That whole Triton DSD desktop thing. I don't remember what that became ultimately. I'm drawing a blank on it.
That's what I'd be curious about, and every few years I do spin it up just to see because I like to see what people are doing. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And what do you learn?
Absolutely nothing.
That he still prefers Linux desktop.
Absolutely.
No, there were one of the things that specific desktop could do that really blew me away that Alan showed me too is you can just per file get to rollback files in the file manager. You just right click and go back.
I remember they had that built in.
Neat.
That's cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, I want that.
Well, Git?
You could kind of do that with that snapshot program we talk about all the time, that GTK interface to take snapshots. It gives you time shift. Yeah. Thank you.
I do need to try something along those lines. It's something I just do not do, have not done, and I really need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Really, ButterFS should be able to do that. Just
So
by its
time
very
shift
nature.
can front end ButterFS.
Right.
Yeah, but you need to take the
got it.
snapshots to actually do it, and I'm not even taking
No,
snapshots.
just automate it. No, because it's copy and write. It's just doing it without you even.
So, yeah, that's what you say, and every time I've tried it.
Oh, Jeff, you have this special inclination to just break everything. Worse than me.
Before we get started, first of all, we do need your titles, bang, suggest in the chat room. But second of all, in the chat room, or Jeff or Tiny, do you guys have any hot tips for maintaining an old Linux install? Things that you do either at the beginning or while you're using it or whatever to make an install last as long as possible. Here I've got an install from 2018. I'm trying to think about some of the things that you might do. You'd pass along to somebody to say, okay, if you want this installed to last forever, do this or.
I have a tip.
Well,
I don't know if you want it now or later.
All right. Well, no, we can put it in the dock.
Put it in the dock.
Automated
I'll
updates.
throw it in the dock.
Okay, yeah, throw it in the.
Don't do updates? Is that what I heard?
Automated updates. So I know on Red Hat family stuff, there's DNF automatic, and then there's unattended upgrades, which is slightly harder to set up. And I know Nix has a similar facility, but I haven't played with it too much.
You crazy bastard with the automated updates. I really like how Tiny rolls.
Yep.
Is this my guy or what?
Best thing ever.
I know.
Like my old job at a web hosting company, I was able to like just say, hey, it'll update between some random time between 12 and midnight or
All right,
12 and 2 a.m.
I might,
and they would just reset, and it was great.
If you're around when we get to that moment, I might call on you for that. I think that'd be a good take because I'm going to take the opposite side, but I think it'll be good to have both. Yeah, put that in there, Brentley.
Yeah, I've never tried that. That'd be fun to try.
Wes doesn't have his ready face on.
Well, now I'm looking at the wiki page for unattended automatic system updates on a Flake-enabled host.
Oh, well. That sounds kind of worthwhile. I got so many Flake needs.
Yeah, I don't have any good tips. I don't know. My main one is just obviously do something rolling, right? It's like everyone bags on Arch, but
well, we're about to put that to the test.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I might call on you to add that in there.
Distro choice might be a good one too. So like even if it doesn't roll, either have an LTS or something with a really good track record of upgrading like Fedora.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to break those. I don't know how, but I do.
Oh, Jeff. I love
just
you
like
so
apps,
much.
man. I hate apps. It just dies every time I try it.
Yeah, maybe that should be one of our don't use the built-in package manager. No.
Yeah. Maybe use what's one that starts with an N?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of that. I haven't. Doesn't ring a bell.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
I do like that. So I don't have a soundboard over here for it, but I need to. Yeah, we're gonna bust that shit out.
It's been a while.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think the package manager you were thinking about with N was Nala.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah, sure. Very good. Very good.
Isn't that the newer app to?
I use F-Droid, so I don't know what you're talking about. Every now and then I've actually had to drop out of F-Droid and go back to a play version because the update cycle is just a little bit longer in F-Droid. And every now and then you need to update the client when you update the server. And if the F-Droid version is 2 weeks behind, you don't get to use it until the F-Droid version comes out.
Sounds like someone's having problems with image.
You got it, buddy.
I've started to experiment with just downloading APKs directly from GitHub, like from the project.
You animal.
And it is sometimes really great.
So,
what is it called? Obtainium?
Google CEO just
sort of
said
front end for doing that.
Google CEO just said that they don't think people should be doing that. He was just in an interview saying that they don't think that third party.
Yeah, of course not. They want you to use the Play Store.
I think sideloading's good.
So use SourceForge.
Yeah, because the Play Store has been devoid of like malware and stuff, right?
Yeah,
100%, obviously.
100%.
They have automated checks, Brent.
100%. 100%. All right, we're getting to the time of the show now where the fate lies in our chat room. So please bang suggest as we go.
All right, chat room.
Whew.
It's a lot of trust.
Yeah. You might want to wait till we get into the show a little bit, but I'll throw out a possible one now. All right, Wes, are you ready?
Oh, let's get it.
Are you ready to dance?
I guess I am.
Brentley, are you ready to record?
No, I still have some writing ideas down here.
Okay. All right. No, that's all right. That's all right. Take your damn time, Brent. Jeez.
I did download the packages, so I guess we're...
That's good. We don't really want that going while we're actually,
There'll probably be some other stuff to download down the road, but we got to start.
It's been
okay.
a long time.
Yeah, don't rush those Canadians, right?
I should have thought of this earlier, but I kind of want to reboot it before upgrading it, just to make sure it reboots clean, It's been up for
What's the fun in that?
Now's the time, probably.
Kind of makes it more fun though. That it's,
Yeah,
what is the uptime?
81 days.
Yeah, it's not crazy because I've shut it
that's
down
not
a
too
lot
long.
during the
So
summer.
that's a good sign.
Yeah, it was turned off a lot during the summer. I every time I turn it on, I always expected a disk to be dead.
Yeah,
every single time.
Chris, you had that look in your eye when Wes was mentioning that. You just got this like sparkle of like, ooh, chaos might happen.
Well, you just embrace it once you're live. You know what? It's the train that left the station.
and it really wasn't much of a station to begin with.
No, I was disappointed.
More just the train slowed down in the middle of the field.
And let me tell you, don't get the hot dogs. Don't. Okay, Bran, are you ready to record over there?
I'm now ready, yes.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, record. Hello, Space Drew.
Coming at you early.
Let's do our 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
And let's do a moment of silence. So we have that starting now. All right. Good enough. Well done, boys.
Pew, pew, pew.
A pew. A pew, right?
Ow.
I feel like we're doing the Linux community a real solid this week. We're going to put a myth to bed, or we're going to have to own that Arch isn't suitable for a server environment. I was doing a little looking online this morning, seeing, what is the current recommendations? And you can go all the way back to 2010. It's the same line we've been getting for years. Don't use Arch as a server operating system. It's not clear when applications might break. More often than not, you have to keep up with what's going on in the wiki. It's just not as easy as Debian or CentOS. Well, we have an ancient Arch install that we haven't touched for a year. And we're going to see today on the show if we can upgrade it, if we can fix it, and really see if you can neglect an Arch system, just kind of come all the way up to current and see if the system works.
I don't think we're going to get any admin contracts out of this, though.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to your weekly Linux talk show. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
And my name is Brent.
Hello, gentlemen. Yep, it's been more than a year or so since we've updated our quote-unquote Arch server. So we're going to attempt to do it live and then rescue it in whichever ways we have to. We'll truly try to put that myth to the ultimate test this week. And while we're doing that, we figured we'd have a little sidebar and attack one of free software's most sacred cows. So buckle up for that. That's coming up a little bit in the show. And then we'll round it out with some tips and tricks for keeping an old Linux install smooth. Not necessarily just Arch, but things you can do when you first set it up and while you're running it to keep an install running as long as possible. And then we'll finish it up with our picks, the boost, the feedback, and a lot more. So let's say good morning to our friends over at Tailscale. That's a mesh VPN protected by WireGuard. Oh, it is. It's going to change your networking game. You won't need inbound ports on your firewall anymore. If you're an enterprise, you can throw out complicated or sucky VPN solutions and you can embrace the Tailscale lifestyle. Get it for free for up to 100 devices and support the show at tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged. And, of course, a big time-appropriate greetings to our virtual lug. Hello, Mumble Room.
Hello.
It's a small showing this week. We got a couple up there in quiet listening. We got a couple on air. We're recording on a Saturday. So
I'm amazed we have anyone at all.
I know.
So thank you.
And I'm amazed we got people in the chat room, too. That is actually really impressive.
It gets a little lonely doing the show by ourselves.
I will also remind everybody that Tuxie's voting is going on just a little bit longer. Tuxies.party to get your vote in. And we have a feedback form if we've missed something there, so we can also collect that a little bit better this year. And show mascot, the Golden Dragon, now has his stickers on an Etsy store, which will ship internationally $2. If you go vote and you want to get yourself a sticker to prove it, limited time sticker, we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Also, while we're kind of planning about the future here a little bit, in April, Texas Linux Fest is coming up, and we're planning to try to make it. I would love to find a spot to park the RV for a couple of weeks. If anybody in the Austin area has like some room in their driveway and wouldn't mind me mooch docking for a bit, living out of there doing the shows and whatnot, let me know. Chris@JupiterBroadcasting.com or contact me on Matrix or whatever, or Boost In. I'd like to ask. I don't often ask this question, But so many times when I then set off on a trip, I get emails saying, hey, man, I got a spot you could have parked at. So I'm going to ask this time. If you're in the Austin area, let me know. That could be cool. I really want to get down there to see the eclipse.
Right.
I want you guys to get down there, too.
I'm in.
Okay, I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll commit to it right now.
Come on, Brent. It's an eclipse.
You know me. I'm in. But I have no idea how I'm going to get there or when, but I'll be there.
I know. I'm already thinking, like, how the hell am I going to afford the gas even? But, you know, it's going to be worth it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And then to, like, go down there for an eclipse, hang out in beautiful Austin, Texas, and then go to a great Linux event and see friends again. That just sounds like a great way to spend a little bit of our life. Just sounds like I don't think we're going to regret that one little bit. So that's coming up. You can go to TexasLinuxFest.org, I think it is, for the deets on when. And of course, we'll have.
I hear the food is a thing too.
All right, Wes Payne. So it's been a ridiculous amount of time.
Oh, wait, you wanted me to update this thing? I thought you were doing it.
We're not quite actually at the year mark. If I'm being honest, 359 days since we've done a server update.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Arch is famous for being fine if you just go a long time with never updating it. Totally fine.
That's what they recommend, I think.
We thought we'd transition off the server completely, but then storage became tight, and we never actually took it out of production, and we just left it thinking, oh, any day now. And then we thought, okay, once we get Proxmox going, we'll retire this thing, and then we decided not to do Proxmox. And now we're thinking we're going to go with Nix, but that's kind of a re-engineering of things. So now it's time to revisit this box and keep it healthy. For the sake of time, we have pre-downloaded the packages. You want to give us the deets there, Wes?
Scrolling one moment. We have 538 packages to install or update. That's a total download size of just about 1 gigabyte, a total installed size of nearly 4 gigabytes after, decompressing, but a net upgrade size of 5 megs or so.
Negative.
Yeah, negative 5 megs, excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're slimming down here, even after all this time.
After a year of not installing any updates and downloading a gig, which will expand to 4 gigs, the net upgrade size is negative 5 megabytes.
Now, I am already seeing, I started my SYU just to get ready.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing some questions, replace this package with extra,
Yep.
Should be fine, but those are the kinds of things that you look out for.
All right. Well, let's kick it off, Wes Payne.
And we're away.
We'll let that go for a bit because I know that's going to take a minute, and we'll check back in.
Now, Wes, have you been keeping up with the newsletter, the Arch newsletter, so you know exactly all the manual changes you need to be doing here?
I don't know about keeping up over the year, but yes, I did take a look last night. And there are a few items in there that we may need to resolve or run into issues with, but we'll find out what we've actually all got installed on this box.
A few. It looks like you've identified like half a dozen.
Well, some of these are just like noteworthy. They did a Git migration during this time, which I think maybe we might just avoid the fallout from because we didn't have to update or do anything like during the migration. Let's see. There's also some stuff you might have to do if you had Ansible on the system or Budgie on the system, but I don't think we're going to run into those.
Right.
I don't have Budgie on the server.
It's a pretty lean install overall.
There's also changes to the default password hashing algorithm and UMask settings. Now, they say there that it shouldn't require any manual intervention. They're not calling it out as such, but that feels like something that could go wrong.
Yeah. That seems like something I'm a little concerned about. We'll just see as it gets there. While we wait, I want to talk about one of our sacred cows in the free software community. And you have undoubtedly heard an iteration or a version of this, or have probably said it yourself. And it can be summed up as Linus's Law. And the law is, which was really formulated by ESR, is that given enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow. Right? You've heard various versions of this.
Yeah, that saying's been around for a long time.
I think it's a mantra in the Linux community. One of the advantages of open source software is that more eyes are on the code so you can catch the bugs quicker, right?
Sort of a default answer sometimes in security questions. You're like, well, yeah, well, it's open source.
But then we see stories that I think have fundamentally proven that Linus's Law is unfortunately broken. You may have saw a story this week that was pretty attention-grabbing, and the headline was, for a decade, the Linux kernel hasn't scaled beyond 8 CPU cores. And this went all over Hacker News. And it was based on some research that was published that shows that essentially a system CTL setting, so in scaling of how the scheduler assigns CPU cores, kind of begins to max out at its efficiency around 8 cores, and it starts taking additional overhead to kind of assign out tasks beyond that. Is that a fair enough layman's summary, do you think?
I mean, I don't know. This one's kind of hard to interpret, honestly.
I think it's roughly the idea.
Part of it is that, scheduling is kind of a black box where there's a lot of heuristics at play. So it's a little, it's hard to figure out without actually knowing a lot about what's going on in terms of, what the implications of this setting are and in what environments it would lead to performance impacts. I don't know if that's all clear yet, at least not to the casual observer.
I think there's some tests that show, if you put it in the right specific kind of situation, you'll notice a little bit of a performance loss. Somewhere in like the 14% range is what I was reading. But here's a TLDR. So it isn't actually really an issue so much in the kernel itself. It is, but it's in the scheduler. And it doesn't mean that the scheduler can't use more than 8 cores. I'm sure many of you out there have used Linux on systems with more than 8 cores. The scheduler controls how to allocate tasks to the available cores and how to schedule particular workloads efficiently on available hardware. That's a really complex problem, especially when you consider the data some of those tasks have to share. And some of these settings are hard-coded timings to control the behavior of how the scheduler works. And some of it varies with the number of cores, some of it doesn't. And it seems like some of that math has been capped at 8 cores. So it's in some situations in the scheduler, beyond 8 cores, it's not doing things very efficiently. And it seems to have persisted for about 15 years.
I think that's what's catching people's attention here, right? Is you're looking at like, oh, well, this is something that probably isn't what we wanted or we're questioning now. How long has it been like that? And why hasn't anyone noticed?
Right. And I think we can think of things like Heartbleed and Shell Shock and other issues that have been persistent in free software for a decade before anybody noticed it. And so I feel like this just on its face kind of calls in Linus's Law into question. Brent, have I built a case?
Yeah, I think you have, especially, this is not the only example that you bring up, but it does get me thinking about what are all the issues that we haven't found yet that are also a decade old? Because these are just the ones we know about, right? And surely there's a huge number of them that matter that are also in there in all sorts of projects too, not just the Linux kernel. So that gets me kind of worried.
Well, I feel compelled to say, welcome to software, my friend. I think this is an even bigger problem potentially in commercial closed source software. There was a little bit of an empirical study done, if you want to call it that tested this theory. And what they did is they compared popular and unpopular projects from the same organization on GitHub. So like a popular project with a 5% rating is like 7,000 more stars. They had a couple of qualifiers to determine what a popular project was and an unpopular project. And they say bug identification was measured using a corrective commit probability. The ratio of commits determined the related fixing of bugs. The analysis showed that popular projects had a higher ratio of bug fixes. Google's popular projects, for example, had a 27% higher bug fix rate than Google's less popular project. So what it kind of demonstrates is more eyes actually does discover and detect more bugs. But I think you could also just say more users, more popularity.
Well, my argument there is that if there are more people working in a project, often it's because there are new features being added to it all of the time. And those have bugs because they're brand new features. And so those are being fixed, but it doesn't necessarily reflect old bugs that haven't been found in code that, no one's looked at for quite a while because it's just sort of worked as expected. So I don't know if these are more correlations. I don't think they're causations. So I would bring this into question.
I wonder if maybe there's an element too of like unpacking the law a bit in terms of, we're talking about eyes, but are we talking about users? Are we talking about developers? Are we talking about auditors? Like there's bugs you find that, like you read through the code and you're like, oh, that's a little suspicious. And then you test it and you find some edge case. And those are important, but and sometimes they have dramatic security implications, but oftentimes they're just sort of like, well, this tiny little corner case over here, we need to fix it. And there's probably a reason that no one has really run into it or cared enough to like raise it up the flagpole. So there's sort of a question of, do you end up also then finding a bunch of, more bugs that matter less?
I want to say it's all of the above. It's more users, more developers, more auditors, more automation. That all is gonna find more bugs. I think though that we can't just sit here and say because it's free software, because it's open source, it's more secure because more people can check the code. I think that's a real shallow take on the situation. And I pulled up a dozen references from the last 5 years of free software projects that had a CVE that was related to a bug that had existed in the project for 5 years or longer. I put like a little search parameter together and I found like a dozen examples. It happens over and over again. So I think we kind of have to stop this crap that, well, Linux is more secure just because it's open source. It's only more secure when there's people that are actually interested in looking at it. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a weakness of free software because it's all software is like this. And it's just the reality. We should just be more honest that all software is like this.
Zach Bacon in the chat room here has a good point. Says, I think it boils down to some people working on what they want as opposed to necessarily working on what's needed. So gets me thinking like contributors to projects, they have specific interests and they're going to work on that. But how do you spend the attention on the things that are, need an audit or those bugs that are really old that nobody really is excited to work on?
All right, Wes Payne, how is our old Arch server? Oh, that's not a good look.
It seems to be so far going okay. We've got the new kernel installed.
Okay.
We're not done updating packages yet. So
I bet.
It's still in progress, but we're on 450 out of 535 now.
Oh. At some point, we're going to have to build ZFS, right?
Yeah,
Or at least
I
the module.
imagine that's where we're going to run into some problems and have to do some updates.
Yeah.
Because I think we were on ZFS 2.1.5.
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky thing. It's going to be a huge jump in ZFS and the kernel version and the kernel module.
Yeah, it looks like there's a 2.2 now over in our buddy the AUR. So we are running the. It looked like we're running the LTS kernel on this box. So that's a helper. We're not worried about some super new kernel and some incompatibility that we have.
I'm
to wait
glad
for.
you brought that up. That was one of our kind of go-to solutions to using Arch as a server is switching over to the LTS kernel. That may save us. That may save us right here, because then it's still a big jump in ZFS version though. Okay,
I bet it'll be fine. But we'll stay tuned. I'm gonna I'll check back in when we're done with everything, all the updates here.
Not that one. Sorry.
Whoa.
And we're done.
Yeah, that's it. Are you good?
Did you when the soundboard guy?
Are we good?
Hit the bar.
I fired the soundboard guy. So now
It's like a to be continued. Yeah, that's the episode.
Now I'm the soundboard guy. That's the problem. Linode.com/unplugged. Y'all get over there. Support the show. Get $100. Now more than ever, we want to make sure Linode's a happy customer. So please, linode.com/unplugged. So Brent, I think you should probably queue us up for this.
Sure.
And maybe just roll with one of yours, I suppose. And then when
Sure. Okay. So, gentlemen, I have many a box that I've run for multiple years on a variety of systems. And I was reflecting on this just last night because I'm having issues with my Tumbleweed install, my dev one, that it just eventually just blows up. But I think that might be a me problem. But I was thinking, I want to hear some advice on how to get these systems running for as long as possible. There's got to be some tricks, some knowledge that's been passed down from the wiser. Chris, you got anything to give us?
Wow, are you saying I'm old? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying experienced and wise. And
you were also saying last night
things.
when we were chatting about this is that it's usually about the 1 year mark for you.
It's like between a year and a half where I start to at least notice that things are...
God, that sounds like Windows.
Let's call it crufty. That's one of the reasons I wanted to move to Linux quite a while ago was because I had experienced that on Windows and I had experienced that on Mac OS. And I thought surely there's a better way in Linux land, right?
Well, Brantley.
But my experience so far is that year and a half. That's where it all starts.
Stay a while and listen.
Let me tell you a story. I actually, I have 2 machines in front of me that are both installs from 2018, which is...
I've got a 2018 install on this laptop still, actually.
Look at us. And they're all Ubuntu, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. I think maybe it starts with how you use it in the beginning. You sort of set the tone. And I don't really ever install a lot of software on any of these machines from the package manager anymore. I haven't for years. Like Reaper is a download from the Reaper website. What I have added to the system has either been through Flatpak or Snaps. And I don't really install much from the base package manager, and I haven't for quite a long time.
As you can see from our picks, a ton of stuff we end up picking are like often they end up just have a happenstance being like a Go or Rust tool that you could just download and stick in a bin folder. Obviously, that has downsides in terms of auto updates and the rest, but does mean you're kind of easily sideloading onto your system.
Now, Tiny and I have the exact opposite opinion when it comes to updates. So, Tiny, you and I were chatting before the show, and you said you think one of the key things to keeping an older install running smooth is automated updates.
Yep. So I think having to deal with updates regularly and in small chunks has a higher likelihood of success than just ignoring updates altogether.
Now,
I wonder if it's also because the updates are like there's a recency to it. So updates that are, I don't know, in the last week or two probably have a higher chance of success than, I don't know, if your rolling release hasn't updated in the last month or 365 days.
Correct. And I also think distro choice is a huge part of it too.
Yes.
I'm still of the camp that Arch is not a great candidate for this. You've demonstrated that it can be done, but you have to be very particular about what you put on the base OS and then move all of the applications into confined environments like Docker or OCI or whatever and keep it away from the base OS.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we'll see. We haven't finished the update yet. We may have disproven it. I think, yeah, if you choose something like Fedora, that has a really smooth upgrade process. They've really refined that over the years. And so if you can fall into a cadence where Fedora 39 comes out, you wait a few months, 3-4 months, then you upgrade from 38. Yeah, if you can fall into a cadence like that, that can work pretty well. I have gone the route of LTSs when I want a system I know is going to be around a long time. And I go the opposite side that Tiny does. And I wait about 2 or 3 months, and then I do updates with, I just plan for something to break, and then try to just have a little time on the other side of that to fix it.
You got your maintenance window set up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a little more old school approach, but I feel like the package manager kind of dictates the behavior. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that on other systems, but for my app systems, these 2 app systems.
Yeah, right. I mean, like on some systems, you might have the package manager integrated with snapshots, which
right.
I forgot we have on this server too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
We set up Snapper.
Yeah. Oh, that'll take a minute. That'll take a minute for sure.
But yeah, I mean, in particular, it's funny that all of, like, at least for us, many of our old systems are Ubuntu systems, and yet apt is sort of the package manager I have some of the least confidence in terms of like getting into weird situations in, on an older install, especially one that maybe has seen a lot of randomly downloaded debs or PPAs or.
Yeah. The more you do that, the more little edge cases and issues you'll run into.
And did you really get all that stuff uninstalled? Which version is it still pulling like this package from this PPA, even though you're not using the other part of it anymore? Or?
Yeah. I think you could always leverage something like Clonezilla too. I think that's worth considering. I'm going to throw a couple curveballs at you. What if you did an approach? Say you're using CentOS Stream, you're using RHEL, you're using Ubuntu LTS, you're using a Debian release that's going to be around for a while. What if you just did the MVP install, the minimum, or the MVD, the minimum viable distro install, and then build everything else up using the Nix package manager?
Oh.
And then you just maintained basically all of the stuff you want installed from random server thing to whatever text editor you might want. You just did all of that with the Nix package manager. Could that maybe be a kind of bulletproof because you'd still have to run the package manager of the system to do kernel updates and package updates of the base OS.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was really a minimal base OS install, there's a pretty low chance that's going to break. And then all the other stuff you install from Nix.
Yeah, I wonder if you might run into, like, depending on what layer you do, like, I imagine that would work well for a lot of stuff, but I wonder if there's some, like, do you end up with some odd middle ground where, like, NixOS has it more integrated in a way that you would prefer, or, like, you need some, hook into the lower level system that right now you're relying on your base OS, but you have to, like, replace with the Nix stuff.
This is why I always just end up with NixOS. It's like if you're on Ubuntu or Red Hat, you probably want that package manager.
But isn't all of this just sort of admitting that distro package managers are failing at their primary job? I mean, I know it's a complex issue, but the whole point was to solve all of this, right?
I think it's fair to say the longer you take it out, the harder of a problem it begins to solve. Like if you wanted to install current software on this install from 2018, Flatpaks and snaps are kind of your best bet. Because they're not going to have that package in the repo. So I think it's a harder problem when you want a system to last longer and longer. And the more minimal the system is, I think the easier the problem is to solve. So that's probably one of the major tips. Jeff, you kind of think rolling is probably the best route to go. So you kind of take the other side of Tiny as well and say, don't just update often, but just go with something that's rolling.
Yeah, just in general, I think you're not going to hit those brick walls, right? Like, oh, now you got to do a full system upgrade and sit around for however long that's going to take. And then when that inevitably fails, because apt always does, for me at least, it tends to work out better for me anyways. Of course, I'm an Arch user, and that's what I know the best. So that's what I have around in my household, including my partner's. And I don't update her system often at all, maybe 2-3 times a year. And it's fine. I mentioned, just like you said too, Flatpaks, snaps, whatever you're more comfortable with, they're not corrupting up your system, right? They're going to be a bit more reliable in terms of updating and keeping your base system sturdy.
This doesn't look good. I see Wes dipping into the AUR over there.
Oh, that's right. We're doing some AUR updates as well. We did need to manually update Paru, which is, I guess, the AUR helper we ended up on last time we were doing this.
I'm sure there's a couple installed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
it was a pick, right?
Too.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's written in Rust. It did mean we had to compile it, so that took a little bit. But we've got the up-to-date Paru going now, manually installed, and we'll see. In the past, I know we've sort of done the manual package build style make package to get the ZFS going. We can do that if we need to. But why not see if Paru will just take care of the remaining packages on the system? The rest, like the base install, went pretty well. It did kind of mess up during the init ramfs, but I think that's a DKMS issue trying to get the ZFS stuff built.
And is that coming from the AUR? Like, why are we messing with the AUR? That's what I'm trying to put together.
Well, it's part of our system update. It's part of the packages we have on there.
But we were so close to a W.
And it is where we get the ZFS stuff. So if we want updated ZFS, we have to.
That's what it is. All right.
But it's not a complete update if we're leaving behind. We use the...
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, we'll check back in. Before we move off the topic of keeping an old distro running, I would love to put a call out there to the audience to boost in or email in with their kind of tips from anything from you're doing when you first set it up to what you do while you're maintaining it and running it. What are your tips or tricks for keeping an old distro rolling? Because I feel like that's a conversation that we could keep touching on. I wanted to just come back to the topic of automation for one moment. I think also learning some kind of automation, either maybe it's setting up your dotfiles, maybe it's Ansible. But the one thing that I want people to think about when you are trying to get a lot out of an older distro is imagine a scenario like I'm in right now. I'm talking to you from the future if you're thinking about doing this. If I had to rebuild this system right now, how would I even do that? Like, how would I bring it back to the state it's in right now? With software that was originally from 2018, that's been sourced from various different places, that's been assembled over time and then updated. How would I actually bring this thing back to this state if, say, I lost a drive? That is exceptionally hard when you're trying to preserve a precious environment. And so anything you can do to make that environment less precious, to make it simpler to just nuke and pave when something goes wrong and restore, is, I think, going to be essential. So maybe that's managing your dot files properly. Maybe that's using Ansible. Maybe that's just having a good backup strategy.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned Clonezilla.
Yep.
You know, it's maybe that's not where you want to end up, but it's a great place to start. And at least then you have some, you know, quote unquote golden images you can fall back on. You can redeploy if you need to. And in the meantime, you can work on, you know, maybe you want to set up some more automation to be able to rebuild it totally or have more control than just sort of blessed bits. And you want to have blessed configuration in, you know, in Git or something.
And I think also there's maybe we should give a little air to your point that you brought up in our pre-production was don't do this.
Right. Yeah.
Just maybe don't build a system like this if you can.
Yeah, maybe you know, try to work in automation from the start. Think about what the life cycle of your system is going to be. Do you have backup in place so you can try to do upgrades without having to worry that it's like, well, I don't really want to upgrade because I don't know, it might totally blow up, and that might be my whole Saturday that I have to fix troubleshooting it, or it ruins the system and I have to do some kind of crazy rollback. If you have snapshots, if you have a practice backup strategy, if it is an important system, so you at least know, like, okay, well, I've got a full disk backup. If something goes haywire, I just roll it back and we try it again in a month. And then from there, at least maybe you feel a little more comfortable playing with your system. Because I think one thing that can kind of be difficult is these things ossify so much. You, even if they aren't, you kind of perceive them as brittle. And so you're really loath to touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then that might mean you're not actually keeping up with the little bits because you need to update configuration files. You need to slowly incorporate some new practices if you're ever going to get, to handle the next big upgrade you're running into.
Oh, let's go over to Kolide. Let's go over to kolide.com, KOLIDE.com / is it unplugged? KOLIDE.com /unplugged. Let's head on over there. Let's check it out. Oh, look at that. Here's what I figured out with Kolide. If I somehow got access to Doc Brown's time machine, I wouldn't go steal the sports almanac. I would try to steal Kolide. And then I would go back in time, 10 years or so, to young Chris, maybe now more like 16 years ago, and I would give him Kolide, and then he would keep doing IT, and then he would have a lot more money right now. So that's what that would be. That's how I would use Kolide if I had access to Doc Brown's time machine. I think you should go check it out, support the show, give him a little love, give the show a little love by checking them out over at kolide.com /unplugged, KOLIDE /unplugged.
So our email inbox this week has been jam-packed with some great feedback, so thanks for everybody. We did get an offer. Spazzy C offered us a little something. Hey, I have 2 Dell Inspiron 6400 laptops. They're circa about 2005 to 2007. I could send these your way. They're probably perfectly suited for the 32-bit challenge. Intel T2300 with ARC shows as 32-bit only. It's got 4 gigs, though, of DDR2.
Luxurious.
15-inch, a big old 1280 by 800 screens, and apparently the batteries are still decent. So he claims they're just new enough that you can throw a serial ATA drive in there, so maybe an SSD. So thanks, Fazzy, for the offer. I think we're still trying to decide how we're going to tackle this one, right?
Yeah, so I've had lots of great offers, but this one I really like a lot because they're 2 portable laptops, so like if you and I had them both, then we'd have identical hardware. So if we solve the hardware issue, I think we should do it. So let's follow up with Spazzy. We could cover the shipping. We've had a lot of really nice offers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And
thank you all.
I've been wanting to just sit down and make a spreadsheet and try to figure out which ones to go with. But this just seems like such a great option. And with that option to put an SSD in there, it makes me think we could build this as like...
It would make compiling for Gentoo a little faster.
Gen 2 West. All right, man. All right. Okay, man.
Or
all right.
building for our weird NixOS system.
No, I'm
maybe.
down, dude. I'm down. No, I just think, you could put an SSD in there and then like you could actually build a usable computer, which I think makes the argument around 32-bit support a little more compelling.
Yeah, like this is a computer I'm getting use out of. It's not just some relic that we need to maintain.
Yeah. All right, Spazzy C, we'll try to follow up. Let's try to remember to do that after the show.
All right, we're building ZFS. We're making progress.
Oh, good. I see we have some more feedback.
Yeah, Joe sent in a little note here that I think is Worth pondering. Regarding the free software discussion recently, I think we should stop calling it free software. It started as a side projects or passion projects, but has now changed over the years. I think it should be referred to instead as common software. Software for the common good. Having free in the name generally makes people think that you don't really have to pay for it. Just my 2 cents while waiting for a doctor's appointment.
What do you think of this, Wes? So the changing the language from free software to maybe something like common software to change the expectations around paying for it.
I mean, the words we use do matter. I don't know how much this one in particular. I know we also have, like Libre software that we throw around as well. Plus, there's obviously the association with the Free Software Foundation. So that can also be somewhat problematic for some people. But it's hard to just. I think I also like this idea because I do think of a lot of this stuff. As much as I joke that why is LibreOffice installed on my system? I don't need this. I do believe that the world needs it in the sense that, if word processing software is something that must exist for humans to use, there should be a version that is free and open source and available to be hacked on and available for free for people to use. I like the common verbiage. I'm not so hopeful at this point that we can actually get it to take off. Yeah.
It feels like that brand has been successfully blazed into everybody's memories and
it's already kind of so muddled, right? Like we say Libre, we say free, we probably incorrectly often end up mixing or calling stuff open or free when it wants to be called the other thing.
Yeah, and I think if it's something's really successful, the name matters, but it doesn't matter a lot. So yeah, I think we could. There's a lot to think there. That's a
Jupyter approved software.
Yeah, okay, the Jupyter software. I like thinking about that though. Thanks for kicking that around with us, Joe. It's a fascinating idea.
I like what Joe's thinking about while waiting for the doctor too.
Yeah, right.
You're our kind of folk, Joe.
Picture him there in the waiting room.
And now it is time for Le Boost.
And we got a baller boost that I think was sent to self-hosted on accident. So we pulled it over here from deleted 250,000 sats. You are a baller. He says, did I hear the mention of a 32-bit challenge? Here's some sats to help you go shopping.
Aww.
Yeah, thanks. We'll put that towards the shipping.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
Jitty boosts in with 80,000 sats. So,
I'll do it again. Why not?
We got a lot of lobsters today. So, for the 32-bit challenge, there's an obvious thing you need to run on the machine once it's ready. The way I see it, a retro machine calls for retro software, and that retro software should serve a glorious purpose with a touch of nostalgia. My friends, Jupiter Broadcasting requires a BBS. Mystic BBS is 32-bit and easy to set up with SSH and Telnet support included. Yeah.
I have a question. What's BBS?
No. Really?
I think so, yeah.
Better get the harp out.
Oh, well, I'm feeling like the old man this week, Brentley. I'm feeling like the old man for sure, but...
Stay a while and listen.
So, back in the day, before we had AOL or before we had the World Wide Web even, we had these things called BBSs, and they were a bulletin board system that you dialed up to with your computer. And you could imagine they could only have as many users as they had incoming lines, and this was before there was any kind of TCP/IP standard. Right, so this is pretty early stuff, and everything was done in text. This is where MUDs became really successful, which were multi-user text games. There's a Star Trek one out there you can go find if you search for Star Trek MUD. And it's estimated, this is according to InfoWorld, that at its height there were 60,000 BBSs active, serving 17 million users in the United States alone in 1994.
Whoa. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of cute if you try to go to the Arch Linux forums. The domain name is bbs.archlinux.org.
Yeah. Bulletin board. The bulletin board name has stayed around. And those of us that grew up in the day probably have a few stories of accidentally putting outrageous long distance charges on mom and dad's phone bill because, it was easy to do that. That's for sure. That sounds like something really fun. something we could definitely look into, I think. Thank you for the suggestion. I think that's a great idea, Jitty, and also really appreciate the support and the boost.
But does that mean we would need like a network that other people can attach to? Like, would this become JB's, like JBBS?
Well, I don't think we'd leave it run indefinitely, but we could do a little Linode shenanigans to like bring through some connections or something to the laptop.
That sounds great.
I mean, we'd have to run it on the laptop.
Yeah, of course.
So there's...
Well, it's 32-bit. I mean...
Right.
LT boosted in with 51,000 sats.
Coming in hot with the boost.
And it says, keep up the good work.
Well, thank you, LT. Thank you for the support. Keep up the boosting. It's always nice to see that. Torch comes in, also known as Listener Jeff, with 50,000 sats using the index. Here's a little post-trip refill. Hope those tacos were good. The tacos were the best thing I ate on the trip because they were the only food that I ate on the trip besides rice and boiled chicken. So they were really good, actually.
Well, you earned it. Hybrid Sarcasm boosts in with 50,000 sats, hoping this boost buys a humanitarian pause for us Proxmox fanboys. I mean, fair enough. 50k sacks. That's that's good money.
We'll pour a little coffee out for Proxmox. You sure that was coffee, Brent? I'm not sure that was coffee. That sounded
seemed like the consistency was a little off.
It seemed like something else.
Yeah, who knows? Kasaria boosted in 2 boosts, each 22,666 satoshis.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
So for the 32-bit challenge, why not use QEMU's 32-bit emulator? It's about as performant as any 32-bit machine I've ever had. Just remember the 4 gig memory issue.
What you call a 4 gig memory issue, I call a 4 gig memory opportunity.
Those lazy devs.
In the second boost, another 22,666. For funding open source myself, I've done a fiat value for value. So as an example, every 7 years, I would expect to spend about $250 on Windows. So I divide that by 7, then split that up between my DE, between GNU, and Linux as well. Comes out to like $60 a year. Then on top of that, I try to contribute my skills where I can. It will help keep it running, and in lean times, I hope it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I often will do, almost every year, a holiday kind of shopping spree where I'll go throw some money at some of my favorite open source software that I use personally on the holidays. You know what I always come back to is I think it's remarkable that we have solved this for podcasting with Boost and remember streaming sats, which people stream sats in as they listen all the time. And it's a real reasonable amount. You know, they set the amount, and as they listen to the podcast, they just send a few sats. Sometimes it's 10 sats, sometimes it's 200 sats. You know, people set their own amount based on what they perceive the value to be. It just seems remarkable to me that we can't do that for other things. Like, how have we solved that for podcasts, but we can't solve it for software? Yeah, well, I don't know. Now, to your point about using the 32-bit mode in QEMU, that might be useful for some testing. Like maybe if we wanted to eventually keep a BBS and we wanted to run it on a Linode.
Sure, yeah. Or, you know, imagine that's what folks in the future, when all the 32-bit hardware is dead, will have to do.
Yeah. But we want the full bouquet, right? We want the whole shebang with the screen and the I/O and the entire experience, because I think really the idea is what is the value of maintaining 32-bit support at this time? And to really, I think, fully test that, you need to actually do it on 32-bit hardware. Southern Fried Sassafras comes in with 27,577 sats.
Coming in hot with the boost.
Using the
best
name. Says, I'm guessing the self-harm content apology request was aimed at your joke about cutting your wrists open a couple episodes back. However, please don't turn it into a show that polices your language and jokes. Love all the shows. Keep the great content coming. It really makes my 40-minute one-way commute better. P.S. This is a zip code boost. Oh. So I wonder, are you listening in 2 chunks? Sassafras, is that what you're doing? Now, Wes, you brought the map. Good.
Yeah, 27577 is a postal code in Johnston County, North Carolina.
Hello, Johnston County, North Carolina.
Smithfield, Wilson's Mills, or Whitley Place.
We do need to get out there again. See Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. Thank you for boosting in. Appreciate the support.
Jordan Bravo boosts in with 22,222 sats.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
From Podverse across 2 boosts. The first one, I'm a software engineer, and when I joined a new company back in August, I requested a Linux laptop. Good on ya.
Nice.
But was forced to choose Mac or Windows. I chose Mac and used Nix Darwin to share most of my config with my personal machine, NixOS, but it's just not the same. Now, after months of bugging management, they finally acquiesced and gave me a ThinkPad with Ubuntu 22.04. Not quite NixOS, but I'm delighted.
Yeah.
And part 2, P.S. I, for one, would love a show section with Nix tips and tricks. Here's my Nix config repo that's still a work in progress. And unfortunately, I don't know if this didn't come through. It looks like there's supposed to be a link, but I don't
think the
see
URL
one.
got cut. I'm not sure.
I'll double check the back end to make sure we didn't drop it, but maybe boost us again with that, Jordan Bravo, if you would.
We do love the Nix configs a lot. I would really like to see it if you could send it in again. Thank you for the boosts.
And thanks for sharing.
TuxM came in with a row of ducks.
Quacka,
Well, this is what, a
wacka,
super
it's a
row of ducks?
treasure.
What do we call this?
That's a row of McDucks.
22,200 and
Here, do a clean one. It's a McDucks.
TuxM came in with a row of McDucks.
Quacka wacka, it's a treasure. Yippee!
You know, we're going to need a dictionary soon of all these so I could keep track of them. Hello, gang. Great show. Longtime KDE user here. First, I think for long-term adoption, it's best to stick with a user interface, especially if it works, and introduce end-user improvements with each iteration. General users like my wife, kids, friends, and non-techie users don't like their user interface pulled out from underneath them. Second, keep talking about NixOS. I used to use and recommend Debian, but I've been a happy NixOS user, and while I learn new things in the process, strangely, it's keeping me from wasting time with distro hopping. One thing I haven't figured out yet is virtualization. Oh, Chris, you can probably send a copy-paste for that, right? On occasion, I need to fire up a Windows 7 virtual instance to use some sort of Citrix service, but haven't gotten VirtualBox to work properly. Maybe I'll look into Virt Manager or QEMU. Best wishes to all. By the way, I've been interested in ham radio for years, and this fall I put a few weeks into studying for the technician license. I'm now known as KQ4MAJ.
Congratulations.
Oh, that's great.
You know, a few days back, a few episodes back, we linked one of the very first NixOS configs in the show notes, has a really nice, clean VirtualBox setup, which I yanked and put in my Nix config, and VirtualBox has been working fantastic.
Okay.
So
we
Tux,
know it can happen.
Go look at that. Go look at some of those Nix configs. A couple of them that have come in recently have VirtualBox in there. So I think you'll probably be pretty happy with that. I mean, you could go either way, Virt Manager. You could do them both. Do it all, man. That's what I do. Davin comes in. Nope. Davrlin,
I think we've been going with.
Yeah. Davrlin comes in with 6,000 sats across 2 boosts using Cast-O-Matic and reminded me, and I put the call out, what was Kali? The security distribution, what was it called originally? He reminds me it was Backtrack.
Oh, of course. Yep.
That's when I used it, back in the old days.
Same.
And it looks like
when you were a lead hacker.
Yeah, it looks like look at this, Wes. Their old site's still up, backtrack-linux.org.
Wow.
Since 2013.
Some things change and some things stay the same.
I love it. Thank you for the trip down memory lane, Dav. I really appreciate that.
In at 6 boosts in 10,000 sats from Podverse. Managed to get new sats? Thanks for the tips.
Hey, here's a hot tip. Strike is now available globally. One of my favorite ways
That's
to
a
get
big change.
To get sats, and it's on the Lightning Network, so you can buy it with Strike in something like 36 countries now or something like that. It's quite a bit. They've expanded beyond just the U.S., and it's a great app with a great team behind it. They have their own infrastructure. They self-host their own Bitcoin, and it's on the Lightning Network, so then you could send it to one of the new podcast apps, or you could top off Alby using Strike. So check out the Strike app. New tip. And thank you, Init6, for the boost.
Gene Bean from Cast-O-Matic boosted in 3 separate boosts. 3 separate boosts for a total of 9,444. And you know what that means? 2 of them are rows of ducks.
B-O-O-S-T.
Hey, I don't get the grumpiness over CLAs. You are contributing to a company's code, and they still need to be able to run a business. A CLA makes that much more straightforward.
You know, I think that's an interesting discussion point, Gene. I believe a lot of the upset comes because people begin to participate in a project because in part of its licensing, and then things change. Wes, you deal with this more in the professional field. What's your, not so much your like Linux advocate hat, but your like professional developer hat? What's your take on CLAs?
It seems like there's there's definitely an aspect of trust. You know, there are some projects. I'm pretty sure Clojure has a CLA, and it's a rather tightly controlled. Some folks really hate the style that it's developed because it very much is like the founder of the project is still tightly controlling the reins. But I trust their decision so far, so I'm okay with it. And I think, as you're saying, it feels like maybe trust feels violated sometimes when these CLAs get added or introduced, and then that change sort of has already started to undermine your trust in the org behind it, and then the CLA just gives them more powers than the open source community, at least in some views. So it can be tricky, and I think it depends a lot on who's doing it. If it's just like code that a company developed privately and then over the wall and started open sourcing it or something, and then it came with the CLA from the get-go, that's probably a little bit of a different situation, at least in terms of, you still might not want to get involved because you understand that,
it could change.
They're going to do whatever they want with it. You're helping them develop their product, and maybe you're not okay with that, but it's at least a little more straightforward from the start.
And I kind of feel like maybe where Gene's coming from a little bit is like, well, but we need that company to survive in order for the project that you're contributing to exist.
And that's a thing we're trying to figure out right now, I guess, in the open source world, right?
It is. Yeah, it is very much.
I'll add a link here, just a random article I thought that at least laid out some of this decently. So look in the show notes and see if you disagree or agree with any of those, maybe.
I had a conversation recently with Simon Phipps at the Nextcloud conference. He's one of the people who was involved in crafting the open source definition. And one of his pieces of advice for anyone starting out was like, definitely do not sign a CLA. And he had some interesting points to that. So I'll see if I can link to that conversation as well. I thought for someone who's been around and really has been paying attention for that amount of time as that strong of an opinion, maybe there's something to it.
Scott came in.
And Gene's second.
Oh, I think we can probably skip that.
All right.
Because we did get an answer to the ISS one. Actually, you can read his last boost there if you want.
Yeah, okay. And Gene's third boost with 5,000 sats. If either of you guys building the website to help promote... if either of the guys building the website to help promote in... Jeez. One more time. Third time's a charm. If either of the guys building the website to help promote people in El Salvador to help them find work are doing this as volunteers, I'd love to interview one or both of them on Volunteer Technologist to help get their story out there. It sounds like quite an inspiring project.
It's a good question. I'm not sure if any of them are doing it volunteer based. They might be doing it for free right now as they get it going. I think they hope to make money, but I'm planning to stay in contact with them, Gene, so I'll follow up if I find out more. Scott sent us a row of ducks, just a little row of ducks. No message, although Scott, follow up, because I had somebody boost in the other day with no message, but it turned out there was a message. So we can always check. We have it in the database. Soltros came in with 15,000.
We're ready to reboot.
Oh, okay. Well, let me hear it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll set you up. Soltros came in with 15,000 sats using the podcast index. Hey, guys. I've been having fun with NixOS configurations lately, and I wanted to make mine super modular. So I've taken everything I've added to it, and I've made them each their own .nix file. Then I wrote a bash script with a dialog checkbox system to turn on and off features I want, given my system via imports. If you're interested, I could pass it along on Matrix.
Yeah.
Of course we're interested. That is very fascinating. I've actually considered doing the same thing. So I'd very much like to see your take on it, because I think that could be useful for servers and whatnot.
I'm a bit surprised here about the bash script, because surely there's a Nix native way to do this, right? right?
Well, but to have the checkboxes is kind of fun. That's kind of
it's nice.
All right, Wes Payne, we have stalled long enough. Where are we at? Did the AUR packages build, install?
Well, so I guess for some reason we have Ceph installed on here, and that was going to take like another 5 minutes to download. So I canceled the full AUR update and just did the ZFS packages. And that's done. That worked. Unit RAMs, we're rebuilt.
Okay. Is it time for the reboot?
I guess I could do one more check, but yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna get a ping going. Oh my god, I'm actually very nervous because, Jesus, my whole evening's screwed up if this doesn't work. So is Wes's. All right.
Wait, what did you sign us up for?
Do you want to pull the trigger?
Let's do it.
Okay. We'll come back in just a moment. We'll let that thing reboot. I got a ping going.
You want to take this next boost as a sub in for me real quick?
I'll take JJ's here. From 15,000 sats using the podcast index, JJ wrote, "Hey guys, I'm glad to hear Chris is feeling all better. For dot file management, I use Cheesemoy, which is CHEZMOI. Cheesemoy. It stores my dot files in a self-hosted Git repository, so I just use a Git, and I can set up a new machine with all my dot files in one command. And my favorite feature is it supports Go templating with variables based on the machine. Meaning you could include templates or bits of your config based on the machine. For example, he replaces find with a tool that's built in Rust, and other kinds of examples like that. He can set up his bash art. He says he can also set up his bash RC, so he has his aliases dynamically based on the distro. He says it makes handling configs across different machines an absolute breeze. I've started to dabble with Nix, but I quite like having my dot files separate so I can easily apply them to any machine with or without Nix.
It does seem like a neat tool. I've only ever dabbled with it a little bit. Brent, did you try this one at one point? I remember you did a few different dot file managers.
Yeah, I was looking at dot file managers, probably a year ago, but maybe 6 months ago. I don't know, memories, And this is one that was right at the top of the list. If you don't know what Chris is talking about, it's because he...
Cheesemoy.
Yeah. It's, naming projects is hard. This is chez moi, which is a French, turn of phrase. But if you wanted to search for it...
You sneeze?
Cheesemoy. Yes, Gesundheit.
It's cheese, CHZEZMOI, Cheesemoy.
But the project seemed like such a nice balance between advanced features and having it be easily accessible by users who aren't necessarily into scripting their entire own Git repo that's going to do this with bash scripts and stuff. So it was a really nice balance. So I would say I haven't used it, so I can't really speak to that part, but it impressed me when I was doing research. So I don't know, take that, run with it.
I think there is some use, once you're all in on Nix, maybe not, but I think, being able to support hybrid systems, having a sort of neutral, independent setup that just works, and Go is quite portable. So,
or you just go all in on Nix and use Home Manager. I mean, you could do that too. The show mascot, the Golden Dragon, comes in with a row of ducks. He says, "Hey everybody, I just wanted to let you know that an Etsy page has been set up for a digital version of the sticker. It's a digital version for $2 for those that can't afford the international shipping, or for those that don't have the ability to make them on their own." And he sent us the link, so we'll put that in the show notes.
Oh, nice.
It's a digital download in the spirit of open source and JB, and the great international folks have to pay ridiculously high shipping and landing fees for swag. Yeah, it is a bummer. Yeah. Thank you, Golden Dragon, for not only setting it up, but then boosting in with a little bit of support to tell us about it. I got my ping going right now.
Yeah, same.
The host is currently unreachable. That's fine.
That's fine. We don't need a reachable. It'll be reachable eventually. It takes a while to get that DHCP going.
Whoa, this is a long one. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, do we want to trim this? Oh, wow.
This is the longest boost we've ever gotten.
It is.
I'm pleased.
New record.
Everything in the chain
Can
to us
you
worked.
believe that a message that long got transmitted over Lightning? Holy shit, this thing's War and Peace.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
I'm trying to summarize it.
It should cost more than 5,000. It should cost more than 5,000 sats to send a message that long. I'm fucking impressed. I've never seen this before.
Yeah, it's over 2,300 characters.
Always a pleasure to have your voice in my audio holes. Audio holes is funny. That's funny. Intro skipping's the fucking best. I don't know what he's talking about. How many times can I watch like the same intro when I'm binging a show? Like you're watching something like, you know, a TV show that's got five or more seasons. How many times do you need to see that intro? Have you ever watched Enterprise, bro?
I don't know about you, but my ping just started up again.
Okay, hold on. We'll pause right here.
It was a zip code boost, it looks like, also. There's just a lot in it.
Okay. All right, so let's do this. And before we check back on that server, because I do have a ping going right now, Greeno boosted in 5,353 sats. It's a very long boost, which we just read. But it's also a zip code boost there, Wes Payne.
Yeah, although we might have to do some homework for it, because it's the beginning portion of my UK postcode converted from ASCII to hex.
Okay. Okay. All right. You got ChatGPT open over there?
Yeah, let's pull them up.
Hey, Chad, can you answer this for us? Use the Chad map.
Yeah, it looks like maybe, is it SS? Postal code UK. Let's find out more. There's okay, SS postcode area.
Okay.
Southend-on-Sea.
All right.
How do we do? Is that useful at all?
We have no idea. I'm a little ashamed.
It sounds like
there's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, SS0, SS5, SS22.
Let's see. All right, Wes Payne. We got our ping, which is impressive. I mean, at least it booted. It came back.
I'm in. We are on kernel 6.1.62.
I'm verifying this. I got to verify this. I got to verify the applications are running because that just seems impossible.
Yeah, they might still be starting.
Yeah, I would expect.
I'm seeing our pool is online.
Huh, I see Mono starting, which is absolutely, and I see Plex starting. I see Tailscale starting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of containers going. Some of which were created 4 years ago.
Well, there you have it. I mean, Wes Payne.
I guess I'll get the remainder of the AOR updates going, but otherwise we are up to date.
I mean, I feel like myth busted. Myth busted. That is as negligent as you can get with an Arch server, and then on top of that, we threw ZFS in on the mix. The only saving grace must be the LTS kernel.
Yeah, that was a good call on our part, I think.
Wow. I am genuinely relieved. I have a sincere sense of relief that worked.
Chris, I remember you having a story of hosting an Arch box. I think it was at Angela's place to play a bunch of media. And I remember a distinct story of you having to go over there, I don't know, late in the evening when everyone's trying to watch, you know, a movie or something and just spending all night fixing that thing.
Yep.
So is this one fun?
We just got like a whole free evening, right? Like, this is great.
I'm a little worried though. Does that mean we're going to have to do the rest of the servers as Arch instead of Nix now? It's just so rock solid.
All right. Our last boost comes from Zack Attack, 5,555 sats using the podcast index. And he writes, okay, after your explanation of the trouble with snaps, it got me wondering about Linux's other big hills people will die on. Wayland, X11. It seems like there's a lot of hate for Wayland, and people think X11 should be upgraded and tweaked into perpetuity. Any mention of Wayland is akin to insulting someone's parents. Audience, let us know out there. Are you seeing this? What are the hills you're seeing people die on? And I think the other question is what is your hill? Because I feel like I'd be willing to die on the Wayland hill. I'd take that bet over the X11 crowd. So I guess that's one of the hills I'd be willing to die on. What about you, Wes? System D?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering too, I wonder if we can, how many folks, we had a certain amount on the System D stuff. How many folks are just going to try to stay on X11? I definitely feel like there is this attitude, but as the more recent switches and sort of converts and upgrades and distro releases and thinking, Ubuntu's and Fedoras and as more things, as KDE, defaults it, as more things get Waylandy, I think that it's going to just be a smaller and smaller set, and more things just work. Like, so when you try it now, you can have the Chrome flag that makes your screen sharing actually work.
But that said, there's like 4 or 5 distros still going that are systemd free distros.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be some, but
so there will always be an X11 crowd.
Yeah. But eventually, there'll be more and more software that,
just
like
work.
they didn't write the old service files anymore. They're not going to support talking to X.
Yeah. There are a few hills. I think another hill I'm kind of willing to die on is that Btrfs doesn't get enough respect. I'm not saying it's like the king file system. I just don't think it gets enough respect or consideration, especially for small little home lab setups or especially ARM-based systems. Or laptops. Just don't think Btrfs gets enough respect.
Mine might be like a reverse of the old stuff. We were talking about habits people haven't changed, and a lot of the stuff in that Reddit post was mentioning if config.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely in the IP adder crowd myself.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I do have to admit to that. All right, thank you everybody who boosted in. We had 22 folks boost in, 29 total boosts, which is great. And we stacked 422,437 sats, which is just absolutely fantastic. Thank you, everybody who supports that. Thank you, everybody who supports the individual production by boosting. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get that Strike app, or you can just get Albi, top it off somewhere on the Lightning Network, or get a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. Lots of options. Fountain and Podverse and Cast-O-Matic seem to be the most popular in our audience. And I think what really makes them stick, besides the fact that there's a whole new ecosystem of podcasts that have a whole bunch of cool features, is there's just a button right there to boost in. And so when we're saying something and you're thinking about it right then and there, you hit the button, it sends the message in, and you send us a little support. Because this is a value for value production. And we're always trying to make something that is absolutely the most optimized for our largest customer, which is our audience. So if we say something or share something or get you thinking about something that is a little valuable to you, you can send that value back. You can also become a member, and we do have a Black Friday sale going. So if you want to become a core contributor, we'll have links at linuxunplugged.com, unpluggedcore.com. Or linuxunplugged.com just has the link. And if you use the promo code Black Friday, you get $2 off for a year for your membership.
Oh.
You can use your Fiat Fund coupons to support the show automatically every single month. We really do appreciate that. So that is probably it's probably going to run until a little bit after Thanksgiving here in the States, but not much longer.
So jump on it if you want.
Promo code Black Friday. And also, actually, before we go, no, that's fine. That's fine. Our pick this week is a replay because I checked and it's been 103 episodes since we've mentioned this tool.
Oh, wow.
And I've had to tell multiple people about it in the last couple of weeks. And because we just recommended using Flatpaks to maintain a system over the long haul, I want to amend that and recommend Flatseal. This is available on FlatHub and lots of other places. It's a graphical utility to review and modify the permissions of your various Flatpak applications.
That way you can break that pesky sandboxing and let your apps break your system like you want them to.
Yeah, like a good old classic app. Every now and then there's just so you can't get to the network, you can't get to a folder, you can't get a screenshot of it. You take it, you open up Flatseal, you go through the options there, and generally you can find the setting that'll fix that for you. And I just wanted to give it a mention again because I think it is really useful.
It's a nice way to sort of review, too. Take a look at what is this app already getting access to? What?
Yeah, that too. Take a little peek.
I've discovered something recently in at least KDE Plasma that there's a new Flatpak permissions settings section in the settings, which looks almost identical to Flatseal. And I haven't spent that much time with it, but it's just also there. So I think they inspired some changes in the desktop as well.
Yeah, I could see it built into GNOME settings one day, too. I think it should be, probably. I know it's a lot of flips and switches, but it's really nice to have. Don't forget you can vote in the Tuxies, too, tuxies.party.
Yeah, I took a peek. I think I saw 1,600 responses.
All right, not bad.
So keep them coming, folks.
Not bad. Yeah, you think we could get that to 2,000?
I believe.
Tuxies.party. We also would love to get you to boost in your tips on keeping old Linux installs running smooth. Send that in because I'd like to compile a bit more of those because I think we could visit that topic again and do it some more justice. So please send those in.
And maybe let us know about if you are maintaining an old system yourself. How old is it?
And yeah, has it broken? Because one of mine here, something breaks about once a year in the upgrade process and I spend a little bit fixing it. And it's just part of using an older system. Do people run into that? Am I the only one?
See you next week. Same bad time, same bad station.
Yeah, that's right. We're back to the Sunday time. If you'd like to join us live over jblive.tv, we do it at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can get it robotically programmed in your local time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. And don't forget, our LUP Lug gets together every live show, too. In that Mumble room, you get a low-latency Opus stream, and you can participate. And then if you're a member, you get the full bootleg, which is, at this point, a 2-hour and 10-minute show. There's a lot in there.
It's reckless. It's wild.
And it's also published just about as quick as we possibly can. So you get the show quick. Like on Saturdays, you're going to get it Saturday night. But we just appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. And we'll see you right back here next Tuesday, as in Sunday. I can't believe it worked. I thought for sure we were going to try to figure out how fast we could fix it. I mean, like that whole password format change. We got lucky in that it's not a desktop.
Yeah.
And so we missed some of the breaking changes that way.
Yeah, there's not a ton of users on this system. It's not running any complicated graphical stacks.
The applications are in Docker.
Yeah, for the most part. So it's, kind of a regular system. We've got a few odds and ends, like, YTDLP is on there and things like that.
Yeah, you got to have that. And NetData is on there, of course. And there's a few other things like Magic Wormhole and maybe Samba's installed locally.
Right. And some of those things might be things these days we would just run in Nix as a complement to the, more service-oriented stuff that's running in containers. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. Can you believe it? After all that time? I mean, honestly, did you think it was going to work, Wes?
I thought we would be able to get it back online, but I sort of expected a trip out to the garage.
Yeah.
It just like...
We didn't even have to go to the console.
No, that...
A year.
This thing's been too good to us.
Why do people hate on Arch so much? That is impressive.
I think there is a feeling of the uncontrollability.
Yeah.
Because you like that quote you read was saying, you don't know when stuff's going to break because you're not just getting bug fixes, you're getting the new versions. But that feels like sometimes maybe it's more of a theoretical concern because in practice, if you're okay with I do got to deal with this or, know how to work around it, it means you just keep moving and you don't have these giant updates. And even after a year, we're still doing all right.
Are we hinting?
I've had the exact opposite experience with Arch on my Pine tab.
Go ahead, let Brent get into it.
So I've had SSL right now. I've just tried to update it in the SSL certificate on the repo to actually get the Pine Tab hardware working was expired. And I've had weird upgrade stuff. And I was I have a scheduled task to update it every week. It's not automated. I'm manually going through it and doing it and it's still broken.
Is that because it's specific hardware or something? I wonder what's going on there. Because I was about to ask, hey, do you think Arch is getting more stable these days? But it sounds like your opinion is the exact opposite.
I'm telling you.
The issue, I think, is because it has the SSL certificate isn't on the Arch repo. It's on the Dantix repo. The other upgrade issue I had was KDE dependencies.
All right, I'll stop, Bradley.
I find that kind of funny because the KDE dependency stuff should be solid with all of the KDE Plasma, touch stuff that they're doing.
I'm just blown away that worked.
Yeah,
it's your faith in Arch, Chris. You need to.
Well, I mean, it's like you could have a great car, and if you never change the oil, it's not the car's fault that it falls apart.
We're actively neglecting.
Well, yeah.
I think I've told you before, but that my Bonobo, that was a 2012 Arch install that I only reinstalled in 2022.
Wow, that's pretty great.
That is impressive. Why did you choose to reinstall?
Mostly performance. I assumed the performance issues and driver issues were more coming from just that system breaking down over almost 10 years or whatever. And turns out that wasn't true. I could have just kept it fine, but yeah, I mean, it was just a long time, and I figured. Oh, and the other main reason was I got a new drive for it, a new SSD.
Help! That's nice.
Now, I don't know if we ever figured out how to help Brent with his actual problem. You know, he's still got these year-old janky systems.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you going to do? I was going to ask him.
Well, I think part of my problem was that when I first got on Tumbleweed, I was trying to solve, the little issues that you get when you install a new distro that you're not that familiar with. So playing media files and that kind of thing. So there's various conflicting advice out there, but I landed on installing the Pacman repo for getting some of that stuff going. And as we know, the more repositories you install, the more things can break. So recently I went to update, and there were just breaking changes because it was pulling packages from various places. So I recently disabled the Pacman repo and was like, okay, well, I'll just turn those things off. Everything that's not straight from the official repos, maybe that'll solve my problem. And it did for that particular problem. But however, now I'm in a state where on this particular laptop, I was accidentally using X for the most part on the daily on that laptop. And I was getting these strange issues, still am, where let's say you right click somewhere and it brings up a menu. Well, I don't know, 15% of the time, that'll just be a blacked out window. And it worked the same if I was like resizing windows and stuff, it'd just be totally black. I was like, okay, maybe that's a bug in X, or maybe X is just not being supported as well as it used to. So I'll switch to Wayland, and I did. And then Plasma would just crash every once in a while. That thankfully has stopped since I updated yesterday, or it just hasn't occurred yet. But it just reminded me that, okay, well, I probably broke the system because of those repos and stuff. But as far as I can tell, I think I brought it back to a state that's a bit healthier, or cleaner at least. But I'm still running into these issues, and it's just, that feeling. You have this confidence with systems, and then you get these little bugs that keep coming in. And it seems, at least for me personally, the older they are, the more of these little bugs there are. And it just eventually gets to the point where I just want to abandon it.
Yeah, it does make me think, even on, Arch or other systems, I don't know how Tumbleweed handles it, but there is just going to be drift when you do a fresh install if stuff has changed in terms of, defaults that are applied or configurations or like that kind of stuff. You might not get that full new version depending on how your updates get applied. So suddenly you've sort of got, a bunch of different tunings from different states in time that maybe are then interacting together in ways that can be hard to track down. So
it gets me really quite tempted by these immutable bases with, userland software on top. But then for the most part, I start thinking about how if you want to install anything, that's not a user-based software, like you're doing something a little deeper or fancier, then you got to reboot all the time. And I'd have to shut down, close down my tabs. I don't want to do that.
So you need to prioritize a distro with online updates that really apply without you having to do anything.
Well, it's actually one difference I thought about with NixOS is that you kind of have the best of both worlds. It does some magic while you're updating to switch you to that newest version of all your updates in real time, where sort of a pure classic immutable desktop, you'd have to do the reboots to get the new software. So maybe that's a distinguishing factor for Nix that makes it actually quite nice.
Do we have boats?
Oh, good question. I did mean to bring that up. There's sort of obviously there's a parallel between the sort of tips that people have converged on over time and a lot of the practices that these immutable distros are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Being image-based is very much kind of like being like, oh yeah, well I got this all configured just how I know it works. It's been built cleanly and snapshot.
I don't much like these.
Hey, be nice.
I don't even like my own, which is distro life support, but I think I like it the most.
Yeah. Nix the Arch. We broke Arch.
We might have a title emergency.
Yeah. Something with Arch. What was the last Arch? You looked at the last episode we did.
Who suggested Jeff fixes the Arch box? I didn't fix nothing.
You've been drafted.
Just here we go. This is to psych everybody up. Get us some good titles. Come on, think hard.
It's working. Just the tip? Who?
For the tips of the day.
Come on, think hard. Yeah. Titles. What would you click on? What would you want to listen to? Come on. Yeah.
We haven't had Arch in the title since 331.
Whoa.
Apt install Arch-Linux.
Busting Arch's biggest myth.
Hey, are you taking new recommendations? Can you get the bot to...
Yeah, we could do it. I'll do it.
Just
Hold on.
Pac-Man-SYU.
SYUW, I thought.
What is it, 537?
Oh, sure.
537.
537. Okay, you ready? I'm reopening the title bots. Now you got your bitchin' music.
All right. Last time we had double server Jeopardy.
All right, we're getting some good ones. You see this? The chat room's just popping off right now.
Poor Matrix server.
It's the music, dude. It's the music. It helps. You see? You thought I was wrong, but we got more. All right. DKMS Dreams is pretty good. I'm liking that. This Makes Us Unemployable is also a nod to Wes's pre-show line. All right. I think we're slowing down. So I'm going to call it here in a moment. Feeling pretty good. You know what? So we got a great little Spaceballs boost combination, but we didn't get a Spaceballs boost this episode after getting like a whole bunch in a row. But check it out. I think it's pretty great. So you got the original.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
So then that's the first Spaceballs boost. Then if we get a second Spaceballs boost in a row, we'll now have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
Excellent.
I'm pretty excited about that.
I like this idea of having a progression of boosts that you need to unlock
when
people hit that boost number.
I know, but nobody did it this week. All right, I'm stopping them right there. I'm calling it. Let's go take a look. Boom.
We had voting to do.
Geez, there's a lot.
You asked for it.
We're bad.
Don't be complaining.
We're bad Arch users. That's funny. The Arch install lost to time.
Don't arch like we arch.
DKMS Dreams. Reckless Rollers. Reckless Rolling.
That's good.
Double Myth Squish.
Oh.
Thanks. Thank you.
2 Myths Busted. You're wrong about Arch. Pac-Man SYU. Test your assumptions. All right. So those are the contenders.
We got to sort these out.
You got to be in that chat room to vote. And we need your titles. Do we need boating music? Is that?
Yeah, this is hard.
Okay. If you want to get in the Matrix, it's jupiterbroadcasting.com/matrix. We'll give you a few minutes. Go get your boat in. God, this is hard. These are really good. You guys really did good now. These are way better than the last batch.
It's a good problem to have.
God, you got some good ones in here too, Wes. And we got 2 groups of them too. Oh, what are we going to do? All right, you got to go boat. This is going to be tough. We need everybody boating. Consolidate. You got to choose a winner.
Get serious.
It's your last chance to get in there.
This is more important than your school board.
I feel like we got the worst case scenario here. We got such a we have an unbelievable spread. So we
need a tournament.
We got 3 boats for double myth squish, 2 boats for reckless rolling.
Okay.
2 boats for this makes us unemployable. 1 boat. Where'd it go? 1 boat for we're bad arch users. So double myth squish is winning, but by only 1 boat, and there's a spread.
I like the clickability of this makes us unemployable. You know, like I feel like I'd be like, oh, what are they doing? So I'll just cast that. No.
All right.
It is long though, so not perfect.
You think it's clickable though? You think it's got good clickability?
I think so, but that's just me. I also am not technically a listener, so probably should get a vote.
Oh, it's going up in the rankings right now.
I did cast a vote, so putting my weight on the scales.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we're getting some signals. So we got double myth squish with 4 boats, and we got this makes us unemployable with 5 boats. It's a tight race right now. I think people need to consolidate behind a winner. Think about what would you tap on if you hadn't listened to the episode yet, but you saw it come up in your podcast player. Which one would you be more likely to listen to? And vote accordingly. Only you can tell us. Right? We don't know.
We don't. I've never known.
We don't know. Do you know?
Wouldn't know. Even if I could.
How would you? Changes all the time. Reckless rolling, not really moving up in the ranks, so I think we can discount that one. This makes us unemployable 5 boats. Double myth squish 4 boats. They're not changing. We may have a winner. Moments left, and then we're going to call the votes. It's time to get out of here. What are you guys going to do with your Sunday? That's going to be weird, huh?
Yeah, real weird.
It's going to mess up your whole week.
It already is.
Yeah.
The day of rest, isn't it?
Yeah. Although the wife made plans because usually I'm working, so I don't know. I don't know how restful it's going to be.
When is Thanksgiving? American Thanksgiving?
Next week, Thursday or something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, here you go. This is the last moment of the boat window.
I'm so scared.
Once the song's over, you're done.
Hey, Double Miss Squish just got another vote.
Oh, it's up. It's on. It's on. Now we got a tie. Come on, we need to consolidate votes behind a winner. Only moments left. All right, I'll cast a vote. I'm going to cast.
Yeah, there was a vote cast after the deadline.
Yeah, I'm going to cast a vote. So I'm going to cast a vote. I already did. I voted for This Makes Us Unemployable. Never mind. I did cast a vote. All right, so what is our wiener? By a tie or nope? By one vote, it goes to This Makes Us Unemployable. That was a high stakes one. That felt like a lot. Good job, everybody. Good job. We got through it. Good job, Wes Payne, getting the server upgraded on the fly. And now we don't have to worry about it for another year.
That's right. We're done.
Yeah, we're done. I'm sure we'll have it migrated any day now.
That's why people do LTSs?
We never really could get away with that if that was exposed to the public internet. I wonder, we never really made mention to the security aspect of that, and I suspect that'll be a bit of feedback that we get because we didn't address that. Should have known better. All right.
Boost in right now.
Yeah, there you go. Get us, Jeff. Get us.
Dang it, Jeff.
Hey, you idiots. You know, the thing about not upgrading, by the way.
For all we know, Jeff hacked our box already.
Yeah.
That was the other reason why I had weekly updates for DNF automatic with security, because even if I didn't listen to the news and lived under a rock, I would at least get security updates once a week.
True. I think our business here is done today.
Whoa.
I think.
Business.
Yeah? Are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
We got our title. We got all that biz. All right. Well, thanks, Mumble Room, such as it is. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yeah, made us a Saturday for
Glad
a
I
little
got
special.
to join.
Yeah. I thought it wasn't going to happen. I thought I'd be talking to you through the members feed or something. You know, it's funny. I meant to mention this in the show, but this morning, a little red exclamation error shows up in the system tray of this 1804 install, and it says, and I quote, "An error has occurred. Please run the package manager from the right-click menu or apt-get in a terminal to see what's going on, to see what's gone wrong. This error message was, quote, unknown error, class key error. The cache has no package named Ubuntu-Pro-Client. This usually means your install packages have unmet dependencies."
Oh.
Are we using Ubuntu Pro on here?
Well, what's weird is...
Did you put this in?
We haven't done any package updates.
Something is.
Something changed.
Do they just have a timer, after 4.5 years, that message pops up?
It's complaining about a specific version of the Ubuntu Pro package, but as far as I know...
Didn't you test Ubuntu Pro a while back?
On this machine. Yeah, on this machine. But we haven't changed any packages, so I'm not sure why it's complaining about dependencies missing. So that's weird. So, old distros and all that. Anyways, thanks, Mumbroom. Appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Same to you, and happy to help.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Brittany says hi, by the way.
Hi, Brittany. Bye, Brittany.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
All right. Thank you to the live stream who's watching along and all of that. Thank you, everybody there in the chat room. We appreciate you a whole bunch, too.
Yeah, we do.
And, of course, a big, giant thank you to our members who make it possible. That's why we record this and publish it in a feed just for ye. And we put the contents in here that we do's. We make it specials for you because we appreciate you. What?
I love you.
What are you laughing at me?
No, it was more a deep sign of appreciation of the situation I'm currently in.
Sending my love out to the members out there. There's something special out there. All right. And with that, we'll leave you. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
tried to bring a ride. I saw Jesus and the devil, they was walking side by side. I said, who met the devil? Is that really what I see? He said, I was thinking folks might try to judge me by my company. Well, my boss man gave me wages, so I went down to the market.